What's the most disrespectful thing a teacher ever did to you? My English teacher publicly humiliated me for having dyslexia and told the whole class I was pretending to be disabled for special treatment. I've struggled with reading since elementary school. Letters flip around, words jumble together, and it takes me 3 times longer than everyone else to get through assignments. I finally got diagnosed with dyslexia in 9th grade and started using accommodations like extra time on tests. Mr. Henderson was old school, the type who believed kids today were just lazy and making excuses. When I handed him my accommodation letter at the beginning of semester, he barely glanced at it before shoving it in his desk drawer. The first few weeks were rough. During silent reading time, he'd call on me randomly to read aloud, knowing I'd struggle. While I stumbled through sentences, he'd tap his foot impatiently and make comments like, "We're waiting," or "Try reading the actual words on the page." Other kids started snickering whenever he picked on me. I'd feel my face burning as I tried to sound out words that my brain kept scrambling. Sarah, who sat behind me, would whisper the correct pronunciation sometimes, but that just made Mr. Henderson angrier. The worst day came during our Shakespeare unit. He assigned everyone a part to read from Romeo and Juliet, giving me one of the longest monologues. "Let's see if our special needs student can handle real literature," he announced. I stood up, hands shaking, trying to decode the Old English text. Every few words, I'd pause to figure out what I was actually reading. The whole class sat in uncomfortable silence as I struggled through, "But soft, what light through yonder window breaks." Halfway through, Mr. Henderson interrupted. "Stop, just stop." He walked over and took the book from my hands. "This is exactly why Shakespeare shouldn't be watered down for students who can't handle it." Then he turned to address the entire class. "This is what happens when we pretend every student is college material. Some people just aren't cut out for advanced literature, and giving them fake diagnoses doesn't change that." My face felt like it was on fire. Kids were staring at their desks, clearly uncomfortable, but too scared to say anything. "I'm not pretending," I managed to whisper. "I have documentation." He laughed. "Documentation from doctors who hand out learning disability labels like candy? Half the kids in this school claim to have some made-up condition that conveniently requires special treatment." I wanted to disappear, to run out of that classroom and never come back. Instead, I just stood there fighting back tears while he continued his rant about how accommodations were unfair to real students who did the work honestly. That night, I told my mom everything. She was quiet for a long time, then asked me to write down exactly what he'd said. She made copies of all my dyslexia testing, my IEP paperwork, and the accommodation letter Mr. Henderson had ignored. The next morning, she didn't drop me off at my usual spot. Instead, we walked together to the principal's office. "My daughter was publicly humiliated yesterday for having a documented learning disability," she told Mrs. Rivera. "I want to know how this school protects students with special needs." Mrs. Rivera called Mr. Henderson to the office immediately. When he saw my mom's folder of documentation, his confident attitude crumbled. "I wasn't aware the accommodation was legitimate," he stammered. "Because you never bothered to read it," my mom replied calmly. "You assumed my daughter was lying and used her as an example to mock special education in front of her peers." The meeting lasted 2 hours. Mr. Henderson was required to complete disability awareness training and issue a public apology to our class. He also had to meet with the special education coordinator to review proper accommodation procedures. When he apologized the next day, his words felt forced and hollow, but at least he stopped calling on me to read aloud and started giving me the extra time I was entitled to. More importantly, other students began standing up for kids with learning differences. Sarah told me later that several classmates had complained to their parents about how Mr. Henderson treated me. I still struggle with reading, but I learned that having dyslexia doesn't make me less intelligent or capable. It just means my brain processes information differently, and that's okay. Mr. Henderson retired at the end of that year. I heard he was encouraged to make that decision after the school received several more complaints about his treatment of students with disabilities.